Constitutional Law 1, Lecture 10, Directive Principles of State Policy, Part 4, Article 36 to 51. Dear student friends, you are aware that I am Dr. Rega Surya Rao, Principal, Retired Barrister Raja Bhosle's Priyadarshini Jnana Prabodhini's Aided Law College, Fulton, Satara District, Maharashtra, India. Today, I wish to take up 10th lecture on constitutional law. This is my 135th lecture from out of 16 subjects. This is 10th lecture from constitutional law. In this lecture, I wish to take up directive principles of state policy under part 1, meaning, historical background, classification of directive principles of state policy, article-wise explanation, developments, that is the steps taken by the government to implement directive principles of state policy by passing various amendment acts, passing various legislations, and then establishing so many boards and introducing so many schemes for the welfare of the people. And finally, conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles, that is correlation between fundamental rights and directive principles. This aspect, that is relationship between fundamental rights and directive principles, these aspects I have to take up. I will give summary of the subject within 10 minutes topics, and detail around 30 to 40 minutes. If time is there, as for acknowledgement, I take 2 minutes. And finally, time remains, I will give some suggestions. Depending upon your time schedule, you can make use of my lectures, dear friends. I sincerely tell you to communicate my lectures to, there are so many students who are in dire need of guidance from the teachers. Today, I wish to take up part 4 of the Indian Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy. Before going to take up the topic, let me pray God, pay homage to my reverend parents, late Rega Apparao and late Srimati Kantaratnam. Let me express my deep sense of gratitude to all my godfathers who are instrumental for what I am now. And my student friends who are instrumental for what I am now, the entire credit goes to my students' friends, but for whom I, this Raga Surya Rao, would not be able to reach this position. I express my deep sense of gratitude and irredeemable indebtedness to my student friends, and also request them to do their best to communicate my lectures as many students as possible. Finally, I would be failed in my duty if I don't express my gratitude to the publishers of research papers and articles in internet, in particular to one Miss Richa Singh of Aligarh Muslim University, who is writing very good articles. And there are so many research students, so many students from prestigious national law schools who are publishing very good articles and research papers in internet, which are very useful to the members of legal fraternity, not only to students but also to teachers and other members of legal fraternity. Now let me take up the subject. Directive principles of state policy means, as the title itself indicates, that directive principles of state policy means some directions or some guidelines given to the state, that is state government, to do some certain activities to establish welfare state. Here, Part 4 of the Indian Constitution envisages the state government, state that is whether central government or state government, to implement some schemes for welfare of the people. So, directive principles are the principles or guidelines given by the Constitution of India to the state. It may be center or state government, central government or state government, to follow these guidelines while while making any policy decisions, while making any governmental policies, and while passing any legislations, that is laws, so that the interest of the people must be protected and the interest of the people should not be affected. So this Indian Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, uh, through Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, direct the state to follow some guidelines while preparing while making policy decisions, and while passing the legislations. This is the position. So here the states are directed to follow these guidelines under Indian Constitution Part 4, because the Constitution is a text or document. It is like a written document, written agreement between the government, between the state and government. Through Constitution, the state, that is through three organs of the government, promises the people to rule them to the best of its ability, and best of this ability and affordability, so as to ensure welfare state as provided under preamble of our Constitution. The preamble, that is the opening words of Indian Constitution, stated that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to secure all citizens justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, and establish welfare state. In preamble lecture, I have explained in detail about the four pillars of the Constitution, that is justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Whatever is guaranteed, whatever is assured through the preambular slogan to the people for establishment of welfare state, in order to fulfill the obligation provided under under preamble of our Constitution. The directive principles are the guidelines. The directive principles of state policy are designed to direct the states to follow these guidelines to establish welfare state. So that is why, as the title itself tells, that directive principles of state policy, in the sense some directions, some guidelines given to the state by Constitution through Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, to follow these guidelines, these directives, while taking any executive action or taking any legislative action, that is making laws. So this also refers to judiciary. So far as administrative matters are concerned, judiciary must follow these guidelines. So far as judicial matters are concerned, the judiciary need not follow these guidelines. So this is the position with reference to a simple meaning of directive principles of state policy. See here, the Constitution under Part 4 through preamble. Preamble is the preface or index of the Constitution, which contains what is there in the minds of Constitution makers to establish egalitarian society, to establish welfare state, how to protect the interests of the people, how to protect the rights of the people, what are the provisions that are to be provided for or enshrined in this preamble. That is, here the preamble Sogli, through preamble, our Indian Constitution guarantees all people justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. These justice, that is social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status, opportunity to promote them among all, and fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of them. So, here, if you think that the constitution is a written document between government, that is state, and people, people give power to the government and to rule them. The people, the government, the state, while ruling the people through three organs of the government, gives guarantee assurance to protect their rights and to safeguard their interests. So, in this context, the Indian Constitution contains four pillars of the Constitution. The Indian Constitution is built on how a building, multi-storied building, is built on four pillars and beams. The Indian Constitution, the huge edifice of Indian Constitution, is laid on the foundation of four pillars, that is justice, liberty, equality, and justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. What is simply justice means social justice. So these aspects I explained very detailed in preamble, dear friends. So it is time is very short to explain all these things. On these four pillars of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, the multi-storied building of constitution is constructed. So that but thereby the government will be able to establish sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. What is sovereign? What is socialist? What is secular? What is democratic republic? I have explained in preamble of our constitution. You please refer to my preamble lecture under this. So these are the yes. So here, basically, in order to establish welfare state, part 3 and part 4 of provided under Indian Constitution. Part 3 speaks about fundamental rights. Part 4 speaks about directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy. Here, right from I will in historical background, I will tell you the needs of human being. That is human, the needs of human being are basically categorized into two categories. One category of rights are inherent rights. Others are comparatively less. So the kinds of topmost importance which are inherent for survival of human life are enlisted under fundamental rights, whereas the next comparatively less important rights and requirements, interests are listed under part 4 of the Indian Constitution. What is the significance of part 3 fundamental rights? What is the significance of part 4 directive principles? We are going to discuss. But the importance of fundamental rights I have already explained in a previous lecture. I gave one lecture on fundamental rights as a whole, and most important topics on fundamental rights I have explained in previous lectures. So here, this is the position. Now, part 3 and part 4 of Indian Constitution. Part 3 of Indian Constitution, Article 12 to 35 of Indian Constitution deal with various fundamental rights, and part 3 containing Article 12 to 35 of the Indian Constitution lay down various provisions relating to fundamental rights. On this point, I have given some separate lecture. And Article 36 to Article 36 to 51 of the Indian Constitution provide for various directive principles of Constitution. So, fundamental rights are individual rights. They are negative rights. They are enforceable in court of law. But for directive principles are social rights and positive rights. They are not enforceable. In other words, fundamental rights are justiciable, directive principles are not justiciable. Justiciable in the sense they can be protected by the court of law. If a person's fundamental right is affected by executive action or legislative action or even by judicial decision, he can approach the court, High Court or Supreme Court, and can protect the fundamental right. If directive principle is not observed by, it is not complied by state, one cannot approach the court. So this is the position. However, some fundamental rights earlier, at the time of Constitution, fundamental rights were different. Most important inherent rights were listed in fundamental rights, and comparatively less important rights and needs were listed in directive principles of state policy. As time passed, due to socio-economic conditions, the standard of living of citizens is increasing day by day. What was comfort yesterday became necessity today. What was comfort yesterday, what was luxury yesterday became necessity today. So here, earlier, the first category of needs are necessities, next comforts, next luxuries. For example, food, clothing and shelter are necessities. Comfortable shelter, comfortable clothing, comfortable vehicles, that is comfort. Luxuries means high level of living, much beyond our capacity, with affordability or without staying in star hotel, staying in high level, taking food in high class hotels, like this. That is luxuries. So luxuries, car, some crores of worth car, they are luxuries. Here, as the time passed, due to socio-economic changes in the society, what were necessities, needs and comforts. Yesterday's comforts became needs today, necessities today. Yesterday's comforts became needs today. So like this, sometime back, car was was a luxury. From today, it is need to some people, it is comfort to some people. That is the reason why some needs in directive principles, have been modified as fundamental rights. So strictly speaking, fundamental rights are of the rights of greatest importance. Directive principles are comparatively less. But today, as the time passed, the standard of living is increasing day by day. Right to education, for example, right to education earlier was in right to education earlier was under Article 45 of Indian Constitution was a directive principle. Today, right to education became fundamental right, and through Constitutional Amendment 86, Constitutional Amendment 2002, the right to education is made fundamental right. Similarly, legal aid earlier was in directive principles of state policy under Article 39A. That right to legal aid, free legal aid is included in Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which is a fundamental right. So here, the rights of greatest importance, the rights which are inherent for survival of human life, are enlisted in fundamental rights, and the needs and necessities of people, which are very essential for peaceful and comfortable life, are enlisted in Part 4, and the state government, the government, central government or state government, that is state, is directed by the constitution to implement these guidelines, implement these directive principles of state policy to provide all facilities to the people for their peaceful life, so that welfare state can be established. So here, however, if any fundamental right is affected, that affected person can approach High Court or Supreme Court under Article 226 or 32 respectively, because Supreme Court is the custodian of fundamental rights. Supreme Court will protect it. But similarly, if any amenities are not provided by one state government can afford to provide certain things. Another state government cannot afford to provide that. But an individual in the state where it is not provided cannot go to court. Suppose one state government provides 2 BHK flat to poor people, in another state it is not provided. If the state man approaches court for 2 BHK because state A is providing, that cannot be enforceable. So fundamental rights are individual rights, fundamental rights are negative rights, fundamental rights are of great importance. They are fundamental rights are justiciable rights, and they can be challenged in the court and they can be protected. For directive principles are not directive principles provided under Article Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. They are only guidelines to the state government. So this is the main difference between fundamental rights and tentative difference. Now, what is the meaning of what is the meaning of directive principles? As I already told you, directive principles of state policy, that is DPSP, are body of rules or guidelines. Bodies of rules or guidelines from Constitution to state to make all efforts through its three organs of the government. So executive and legislature, and judiciary with reference to administrative matters, to achieve the ideals and goals, that is justice, liberty, equality and fraternity enshrined in Indian Constitution, for establishment of welfare state and to ensure social and economic democracy. So whatever assurance is given by Constitution through preamble or slogan, justice, liberty, equality and fraternity, they can be complied with, they can be strictly adhered to if the state can have endeavor to implement successfully these directive principles of state policy while taking executive action and legislative action. So this is the position of meaning of directive principles of state policy. Now here, historical background. So these every individual, every human being must have some rights. Some rights are very, very essential, that is inherent. Without those rights, he cannot live. Those such type of rights are enlisted under fundamental right. And another category of rights which are needs and necessities, but they are comparatively less than fundamental rights. They have been enlisted in directive principles of state policy. What is the significance? We are going to discuss in detail, dear friends. Now, let us know the historical background. Historical background will give you some idea about what is fundamental right and what is directive principle. Here, actually, the directive principles of state policy are borrowed from Irish Constitution of 1937. The Irish Constitution of When Indian Constitution is drafted, the framers of Indian Constitution, that is drafting committee headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and other members, they took the model of other constitutions, Switzerland Constitution, Australian Constitution, West Germany and other, and basically they took the Government of India Act 1935 as basis and prepared the formulated the Indian Constitution, various contents of the Indian Constitution. So while preparing the directive principles of state policy, our Indian Constitution makers, they were very much influenced by the Irish nationalist movement. They also fought for local self-government at that time, and by the time the Irish Constitution was there, 1937. So that from Irish Constitution 1937 was borrowed, and those directive principles in Irish Constitution 1937 were followed in Indian Constitution. Actually, the directive principles of state policy owes its origin from Spanish Constitution, Spain. So, the directive principles of state policy were originally emerged or born in Spanish Constitution, Spain. From that Spain, Ireland people borrowed it. From Ireland people, my Indian Constitution maker borrowed it and incorporated under Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, making certain changes. So, original birth in Spain, then it is borrowed by Ireland. From Ireland, India, we borrow these directive principles of state policy. This is the first point on historical background. But originally, the seeds of directive principles of state policy sown for the first time in 1928 through Nehru Report, in which envisaged Swaraj Constitution of India. The Nehru Report 1928 originally, suppose this is 1937, but from that 37, 1950 Constitution were borrowed. Actually, the idea of directive principle of state policy was incorporated in Nehru Report 1928 in India during British rule. In that Nehru Report 1928, Nehru Report 1928 envisaged Swaraj Constitution of India. To establish Swaraj Constitution of India, these welfare facilities to people should be provided for. Some welfare facilities were contained in that. So, this means the original seeds were sown in Nehru Report 1928. That is one thing. Subsequently, the Government of India Act, which was the second milestone, when Britishers were ruling India prior to 1950, there was a local self-government agitation, Swaraj movement. In that Swaraj movement, the first step towards local self-government was Government of India Act 1990. So the second enactment was Government of India Act 1935. Basing on Government of India Act and other constitution, the Indian Constitution 1950 was drafted. So this Government of India Act 1935 also provided for directive principles of state, some instructions. The government of some instructions relating to local self-government and Swaraj movement were contained in that Government of India Act. So later, subsequently, the SAPRO committee of 1935, in its report, that is SAPRO Committee's report 1935, classified individual rights into two categories. The SAPRO Committee report 1935 divided human rights into two categories. Number one is justiciable rights, other are non-justiciable rights. Justiciable rights means rights, if the rights are affected, the aggrieved party can approach the court and protect it. Justiciable rights are enforceable in the court of law. Non-justiciable rights are not enforceable in the court of law. So, the human rights are basic. The human rights are rights of individuals were divided into two categories by the SAPRO committee report. According to the SAPRO committee's report, some category of rights are justiciable. Means if any effect is caused, any damage is caused to that particular right, the aggrieved person can approach the court to and protect the rights, and these courts must enforce those rights. But other rights are non-justiciable rights. If particular rights or particular needs are not complied with by the government, the aggrieved party, the concerned party cannot approach the court for the implementation. So providing education facility, providing employment facility, providing livelihood facility, it is the government to take care of. If they are not provided, an individual cannot. If the government provides these amenities, the people can be happy, welfare state can be established. If they are not provided, subject to financial deficit or paucity of funds, government, an individual cannot do. But however, there are so many welfare schemes are being implemented by the central government and various state government, and the implementation of these welfare schemes varies from state to state depending upon their financial resources. So these aspects also we will discuss this, friend. So the SAPRO committee report and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In Public International, I will take care of all these things. In human rights, I will take care of all these things. In Universal Declaration of Human Rights, says they categorized human rights into two categories. First category of rights are civil and political rights. Second category of rights are social, economic and cultural rights. So there are covenants are there. Covenant on political, civil and political rights. Covenant is there. Covenant on these human rights subject. I will explain these things in detail. According to Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, human rights are two categories. Rights of individuals are divided into two categories. One is civil and political rights. They are very essential and inherent, and others are social, economic and cultural rights. They are comparatively less, and the first category of rights are incorporated in fundamental rights, and the second category of rights are incorporated in directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy. So in Indian Constitution, Article 12 to 35 of Indian Constitution, Part 3 containing Article 12 to 35 of Indian Constitution lay down various provisions relating to fundamental rights. From 12 to 35 there are 24 articles, but Article 30 was deleted, and then it comes to 34 Article 12 to 35, actually 24 fundamental rights. One fundamental right was deleted Article 30, right to property, and now the number of articles would be 23. So after constitutional amendment, 6 articles have been added. Now there are 29 articles. These articles deal with various fundamental rights. I gave general lecture on fundamental rights and also gave lecture on Article 21, 21A, 20, 22. Some important topics I have delivered lectures there, friend. You please refer them. You can have very good idea over this. So part 4 containing 36 to 51 of Indian Constitution lay down various provisions relating to fundamental directive principles of state policy. 36 to 51, 16 articles plus 4 new articles are added. Totally there are 20. Fundamental rights are 29 and 29 articles. Directive principles are 20 articles. These 4 articles are added by 4 constitutional amendment, 42 amendment, 46, 42 amendment, 42 amendment, 44 amendment, 86 amendment, 97 amendment. 4 new articles are added, and in 86 amendment, 45 is modified. These aspects also we will discuss. So here now we discuss about the classification of directive principles of state policy. Direct principles of state policy are contained in Article Part 4, containing Article 36 to 51 plus 4 amendment, totally 20 articles lay down various provisions, guidelines, directions to the state government to implement them for public welfare. So direct principles of state policy are guidelines or instructions to the state to implement them to establish welfare states. Earlier, the constitution did not classify direct principles of state policy, but taking into consideration the content and objective of various articles, the earlier the direct principles of state policy were divided into three categories. Number one, social and economic charter, only 38 and 39, two articles. Social security charter, 5 articles, 40, 44, 48, 48A, 49, 5 articles. Community welfare charter, 40, 44, 48, 48A, 49, totally 5 articles. So this is earlier classification. In view of successful implementation of these directive principles of state policy, the state, that is the central government, not only central government but also state government, have taken so many steps for successful implementation of the directive principles of state policy to establish welfare state. For example, the government of India passed 4 amendment acts and added 4 articles, 4 new articles to directive principles of state policy, and 86 amendment, article 21A is there, 21A is created, that 20 right to education is given independent status. Right to education was earlier in directive principle right to education was earlier a directive principle under 45 of directive principle under 45, article 45. Subsequently, the right to education is added to article 21 of Indian Constitution in personal liberty. It is included in article 21. Earlier directive principle, it is one of the items in article 21 as a fundamental right, and subsequently article 21A itself is made a fundamental right. Just like 21 is one fundamental right, 21A is another fundamental right. So the status of right to education has been upgraded by the government. So that is why, in order to implement some of the directive principles are added in the list of fundamental right, some are made independent right. In order to complete fulfill the objects as directed by the Constitution of India, the government passed amendment acts, passed special legislations like Minimum Wages Act, Removal of Inequalities Act, SC/ST Prevention of SC/ST Atrocities Act, and Workmen Compensation Act, Consumer Protection Act. So many welfare legislations are passed. So in first stage, amendment acts are passed, and to fulfill the ideals and goals of the preambular slogan to establish welfare state. And second state, so many central legislation was passed by central government. So many states also passed state legislation to establish welfare state at their level. And the central government created so many boards, silk board, choir board, handloom board, like that, to protect the cottage industries and small scale industry. They have introduced so many schemes, welfare schemes. Earlier Jawahar Yojana, now Sampurna Yojana, providing employment to agricultural laborers, providing employment to this thing, and so many things are done. I will tell you these aspects. So in order to, the Constitution of India through Part 4 by various articles gave direction to the state, that is central and state government, to implement so many welfare measures. So in order to comply with the direction of this Constitution under Part 4, the government made constitutional amendments, and special legislations were passed, central legislations were passed, special legislations were passed, some welfare boards were constituted, and schemes and programs also were constituted. That is the way through this. That is the reason why some directive principles are also have been uplifted, redesignated as, renamed as fundamental rights of the Constitution. So this is with reference to. Now, in view of so many efforts, steps taken by the government, this classification has been revised. This classification of directive principles of state policy has been revised, changed as socialistic principles, Gandhian principles, liberal intellectual principles. Principles. So what are the socialistic principles? What are the liberal intellectuals? What are the socialistic principles? What are the Gandhian principles? Socialist principles, there are 8 articles. Gandhian principle, there are 6 articles. Liberal intellectual principles, there are 7 articles. 7 articles. Now let us now discuss Article 36 to 51 of Indian Constitution speak about directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy. But Article 36 and 37 are general provision. According to Article 36, 36 defines state. So what all provisions or guidelines contained in Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, they are directions to the state government to implement these guidelines while making policy matter and making laws, so that welfare state can be established. So these the directions under Part 4 are directed to state in the sense, what is state? The state in the sense as per the definition of Article 12 of the Indian Constitution. In fundamental right, I explained section Article 12 of Indian Constitution defines state. Defines Article 12 of Indian Constitution defines state. What state includes? Union government and union parliament, state government, state legislatures, state legislature. Next, local bodies. Whatever local bodies are there under delegated power, they can make laws and everything. Municipalities, Nagar Parishads and other organizations, they are subordinate bodies. Now the question is whether judiciary also comes within the meaning of judiciary, comes within the meaning of state or not. There was a controversial question, but however this matter was resolved. The judiciary also comes within the meaning of state with reference to administrative matters. With reference to judicial matters, judiciary cannot come within the meaning of state. So this is. So Article 36 says that Article 36 refers to state. These guidelines refer to state. State under Article 12 is central government, parliament, state government, state legislature, subordinate bodies. Judiciary with reference to administrative matters is state. So these guidelines are referred to these things to comply with these guidelines to establish welfare state and to protect the interest. Now Article 37 speaks about 2 points. One is directive principles are not justiciable. Directive principles are non-justiciable rights. Non-justiciable mean if the directive principles are not followed by the state, nobody can go to court. Nobody can court. And this one way it is telling that if the state does not comply with any directive principle and the benefit is not provided to the people, that the individual cannot go to court, it is telling. But at the same time, Article section 37 declares that though it is they are not justiciable, directive principles are non-justiciable, they are very, very essential for governance of the government. They are the nucleus for successful governance. Directive principles are the nucleus for successful governance of the government. How heart is very important for human body. These directive principle, implementation of directive principles also are very important for successful governance of a state to establish this. Now let us now discuss the classification of these directive principles, socialistic principles. Socialistic principles, Article 38, 39, 39A, 41, 42, 43, 43A and 47. These articles contain socialistic principles. The purpose of the socialist principles is to establish social and economic justice. So the preamble proclaims social justice, social, economic and political. So that is there. Social and economic justice they provide. Gandhian principle. Gandhian principles, Article 40, Article 40, 43, 43, 46, 47 and 48. These come within the meaning of Gandhian principle. Gandhian principles mean during British regime, our great leader Mahatma Gandhi, he has a dream. To suppose there are dream ideals. There were some ideals and goals to be achieved after achieving independence. That is for local self during Swaraj. When we were in British rule, the Swaraj movement, local self government movement was led by Mahatma Gandhi. The Mahatma Gandhi had some ideas, views in his mind. If we get independent, we have to establish welfare state in our Swaraj government. These are the principles and ideals should be implemented to the people. Our people will be more happy that to implement the dream ideals and goals of Mahatma Gandhi during Swaraj movement have been reiterated under these articles 40, 43, 43B, 46, 47 and 48. That is why these principles are termed as Gandhian principles. Gandhian principles. Then the third category of principles are liberal intellectual principle. Liberal intellectual principles are they are something advanced. Socialistic principles are basic and Gandhian principles are something more and liberal intellectual principles are something more. These principles enunciate ideology and liberalism through these articles. Ideology means system of ideals and goals, ideals and ideas. Liberalism means openness as to political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, free enterprise. So these are the liberal intellectual principles are designed to are provided under Article 44, 45, 48, 48A, 49, 50 and 51. So these are the Indian Constitution in functions of so many developments, so many steps taken by the government. The status of directive principle is getting upgraded and some of them are enlisted in fundamental rights, some of them are made independent fundamental rights. So these aspects are covered. That is the reason why the directive principles of state policy have been classified into socialistic principles, Gandhian principles, liberal intellectual principles. So now for 36 and 37 are general provision. 36 refers to state, 37 refers to directive principles are not justiciable, and secondly they are very essential for governance. So now let us now discuss about socialistic principles 38. 38 speaks about social and political justice, social, political and economic justice. Social, political and economic justice. What is social justice? What is political justice? What is economic justice? I explained in preamble of our constitution. Social justice and then minister's son, peon's son are allowed to sit in side by side in the classroom. That is social justice. Any person, irrespective of race, religion, caste, all are allowed to enter into hotel and take food. Irrespective of any sex, race, religion, status, etc., all are allowed to enter into temple. So that is what is called social justice. Economic justice means equal pay for equal woman. In Muslim law, the discrimination between man and woman was there, but this discrimination between man and woman should not be there. Man or woman, all are same. When same work is woman, whatever salary is paid to woman for similar job, man whatever salary is paid to man, same salary should be provided to woman also. So woman, man should not be paid more, so woman should not be paid less. That is what is called economic justice. And political justice means every individual in the society, every citizen of the country is entitled to vote if he completes the age of 18 years. Every individual, every citizen of the country, subject to fulfillment of conditions prescribed by the constitution, can contest for any post, right from village member of gram panchayat to president of India. That is political justice. Political justice. This is about Article 38. 38 Clause 2. 30, removal of inequalities. Removal of inequalities. Removal of inequalities. So the Removal of Inequalities Act also was passed by the government. And untouchability. For removal of inequalities. In primitive days, the inequalities were there. The downtrodden people were ill-treated by the people of advanced communities. In order to untouchability was prevalent in those days. In order to establish this untouchability, Article 17 is there. According to Article 17, untouchability is declared as an offence, and subsequently Untouchability Removal Act was passed. Subsequently, it is renamed as Civil Liberty. This Untouchability Offences Act 1955 was passed. Subsequently, it is renamed as Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. Subsequently, it is renamed as SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. So, when if anybody is booked, if anybody speaks nonsense to any member of scheduled caste and scheduled community, he will be arrested. He cannot expect bail, anticipatory bail under section 438 Criminal Procedure Code. Article 438 Criminal Procedure Code makes provision for ancillary bail. One can approach a district court or high court for even Supreme Court for anticipatory bail. That provision is not allowed when once a person is arrested under this SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. That protection also is given in order to uplift the contents of Article 38 Clause 2. Next one is Article 39. Article 39 envisages the state government to follow certain principles for economic justice. Economic justice means financial. So number one, livelihood. So right to livelihood. Right to life. How right to life to Article 21 earlier dealt with life and liberty, personal liberty. After Maneka Gandhi's case in 1978, the scope of Article 29 was expanded. So many items have been included. Earlier, before 1978, right to life and liberty, two aspects were covered under Article 21. After Maneka Gandhi case, so many items have been included, and livelihood also is included. So here, earlier, this right to livelihood was directive principle under Article 39. Now this right to livelihood is included in Article 21. Now it is made fundamental right. Next, distribution of concentration of economic power. Concentration of economic power in the sense entire wealth of the country is centralized in few individuals. So that is concentration of economic power. If the wealth is entire wealth is centralized in few individuals and remaining people, so by rich becomes richer, poor becomes poorer. This must be concentration of economic power must be eradicated. That is the slogan. So this the constitution through this article directs state that is government, whether it is central or state, must take all necessary steps for elimination of the concentration of economic power. Similarly, equal pay for equal work, workers' safety, Factory Act is there, Factory Act is there, workers, there are so many industrial welfare legislations are there, Workmen Compensation Act is there, Industrial Dispute Act is there, Maternity Benefit Act is there, all these acts for special legislations are there to protect the children of tender age. What are the time where how when what up to what age the children should not be allowed to work in factories, what are the precautions to be taken. So say prohibition of child labor factories was followed. So and this type of child care and this right to education under Article 45. Originally Article 45 said the state must endeavor to give free and compulsory education to all children up to 14 years, right from birth to 14 years. But after 86 Amendment Act, Article 21A was passed, and this Article 25 confined only to child care up to 6 years. 21 years speaks about free and compulsory education from 6 years to 14 years. So this is this change also was made. These are the steps. Next 39A. 39A, according to 39A, free legal aid. Free legal aid, where earlier free legal aid was in directive principle of state policy. Now this free legal aid is included in Article 21 of the Indian Constitution after Maneka Gandhi's case. So in the beginning, Article 39, this Article 39A, free legal aid should be provided in constitutional amendment. Constitutional amendment it was made. 42nd Amendment. Constitution 42nd Amendment, this free legal aid was added, but it was directive principle of state policy. But in after Maneka Gandhi's case, the Article 39A, that is free legal aid, is included in fundamental rights. Means if it is affected, he can approach the court to protect the right. So long as it was in directive principle, the aggrieved cannot approach the court. When it is made included in Article 21, he can approach the court for protection of free legal aid. That is the reason why Section 304 of Civil Criminal Procedure Code makes provision to appoint a lawyer. Suppose if a person commits crime, if he is accused, he should engage a lawyer, defense lawyer. If he has no money to engage a lawyer, the court at the cost of government will engage a defense lawyer, because no one can be condemned unheard. That is the principle. Similarly, similar provision is there in Article 33 of Code of Civil Procedure. Indigent person, if a person when a civil suit has no money to pay court fee, he can apply to the court for pauper suit or indigent suit, and then the court will appoint a committee. If it is found that he is an indigent person, he doesn't have sufficient source to pay court fee, and he will be exempted from the court fee. Next one is provisions relate to Article 41 relate to welfare of the government. So right to work, right to education, assistance, unemployment, and all these things, sickness, everything. So here, Article 41 of the Indian Constitution gives directions to state government to provide some welfare schemes and the right to work, working provisions, educational assistance, employment assistance. In this connection, there are so many welfare schemes were provided. The state governments also introducing so many welfare schemes in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Telugu states. They are very famous for introducing so many welfare schemes for ladies, women citizens, and girls, school going girls, early pregnant women, and all. There are so many facilities, welfare facilities are being provided. In agriculture level, employment opportunities are created. Earlier Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, subsequently Sampurna Grameen Rozgar Yojana is there. Jawahar Rozgar Yojana was abolished, and Sampurna Grameen Rozgar Yojana providing employment. And so many boards and silk board, choir board, and others were established, and these are the steps taken. And similarly, for woman employed employed woman, Maternity Benefit Act 1961 was passed, and subsequently Indian Maternity Benefit Amendment Act 2017 also was passed to facilitate the woman to take employment in offices and industrial establishments also. Article 43 provide for fair wages, decent standard of living in not only in industrial area but also in agriculture area. So many facilities, so many schemes are introduced for welfare of the people, and for this purpose, for fair wage, minimum wages act was passed 1948. For this minimum wages act 1948 was challenged. It is unconstitutional because the employer who doesn't have enough source of income will not be able to, cannot afford to pay the minimum wages, and they challenged before Supreme Court, but Supreme Court said that no, it is the employer, it is left to the employer whether if he will be able to pay the minimum wages only, he should think of running an industrial establishment. There is no profit or enough volume of profit or not is immaterial. That is the decision given by the Supreme Court. This text 43A. This was inserted under 42nd Amendment 1976, 9670, workers' participation of workers in management. Because in order to protect the interest of the working class, the workers' representatives are given an opportunity to interact with the management. Similar provisions are provided in Indian Industrial Dispute Act also. Article 43A directs the state governments to pass some legislation directing the employers to give opportunity to the workers' representatives to participate in the management, so that the interest of the workers cannot be suppressed. That is. And 47, next article is 47, nutrition, standard of living, public health. So here nutritious foods, because there are the state must take necessary steps in agricultural products are genuine or organic or not, any pesticides are used or not, whatever food materials are being sold, whether they are of consumable standard or not, and in order to avoid spurious goods, substandard, contaminated goods, services and products, Consumer Protection Act was passed in the year 1986, and this act was revised and replaced by new act, that is Consumer Protection Act 2019. It also came into force on 20th and 24th July 2020. So these are the principles relating to these are socialistic principles. And second one is Gandhian principle. Gandhian principles means organization of gram panchayats. Number 43 speaks about fair wages. Already I told you minimum wages act is there. 43B, it is cooperatives. The promotion of cooperatives, and the state shall endeavor to promote cooperatives. 46 is the protection of SCs and STs. SC/ST Act is passed for this context. And then nutrition and standard of living, public health. So sanitation facilities and all these things are taken. National health mission. For this, midday meals are provided. For midday meals is provided. Scientific and agriculture and animal husbandry, Article 48. So these are the various principles relating to these are Gandhian principles. Third one is liberal intellectual principles. Liberal intellectual principles mean Article 44, 45, 48, 48A, 49, 50 and 51 lay down the provisions relating to liberal intellectual principles. I will take up in next class liberal intellectual principles and relation between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. Thank you very much for your patient hearing, dear friends. In the liberal 44 speaks about uniform civil code, 45 speaks about free and compulsory education, 48 speaks about organization of Organization of Agriculture and Animal Husbandry, 48A speaks about protection of environment, wildlife. 49 speaks about protection of monuments and places of monuments and places of objects of a national importance. Article 50 speaks about separation of judiciary from executive. Article 51 speaks about promotion of international peace and security. This is a very important from examination. These are very important articles. After this, what are the steps taken by the liberal intellectual principles? I will take up what were the steps taken by the state for promotion of these directive principle, and finally the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles we will take up. This is the position with reference to fundamental rights and directive principles. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.